Heard children screaming in my dad's basement. I now know why my best friend disappeared. My dad was always a bit strange. It felt as if he was constantly acting, as if he was hiding something from me. As I grew older, he became more of a boss or an owner, but definitely not a dad. I just never understood the horrifying reason why. That was until he brought a little girl into our home. She was maybe 7 or 8. Her face was red and raw with tears. "Sam, this is your new little sister, Maria." Before I could react, she spoke up between small sobs. "No, mister, I don't know you. My name is Claire. Please take me home to my mommy. I promise that I won't tell." By the time she finished what she was saying, she was barely forming coherent sentences. That's when I saw my dad stop being my dad. With one fluid motion, he swung his arm, hitting her in the face and knocking her back to the ground. I jumped up, too afraid and confused to do much of anything, but still frightened nonetheless. I was young, but I'd seen enough television to know that normal families didn't do these things. "Sam, you sit your butt down or I'll put you in the ground, you hear me?" Thus marked the loss of my father. Later, as I listened to the quiet cries of the girl, now locked in the room next to mine, he sat me down and explained that he didn't love me. I was heartbroken. I still loved him, but I knew he was hiding something much darker, and I had no choice but to stay with him. He was the only person I had in my life. The little girl was with us for a while. My dad left me at home while he went to the mall, buying all kinds of nice things for Maria, Claire, whatever. He probably blew $500. The weeks afterward were strange, disgusting, and violent all at the same time. At the best, she would play along with his games, and he would be happy. At the worst, I would have to listen to her screams as he did unspeakable things to her in the next room. After, when the screaming would stop, he would come to me and give me the same speech. "This happens because you aren't right, you understand? You should have been born a girl. We wouldn't have to do this. She's going to die someday because you're trash." He would walk to the door and finish with, "Remember, Sam, no one out in that world will ever love you. If you try to leave, I'll find you, and I'll kill you." Maria died about 3 months after my dad took her. This day wasn't her first attempt at escape, but instead it was her last. Truly, I do not know if my father meant to kill her or not. He became consumed in his rage, and I fought back tears as he continued to hit her over and over again. Her little light went out as she choked on blood, gurgling sounds coming from her throat. She was buried in our backyard, right next to the playset that my father bought a year before. After that, he became nervous to the point where he packed me up and we started off on the road. We lived like that for years. Sometimes we'd live somewhere as long as a year, but that was the extent of it. On a good year, he'd take 2 or 3 girls without so much as a second look. People didn't necessarily suspect him, though. He was a psycho, but the man was smart too. He would falsify documents and references, getting himself jobs as close to children as possible. I remember one time he was hired on to be an ice cream truck driver. He snatched up a little girl he called Gloria right in front of her house. He somehow managed to finish his route too. She only lasted 2 months. I was 13 when he started taking me with him on pickups. I hated it, and I'd even choke back tears when the little girls would sit in the floor of the back seat, crying and begging to be taken home to their mommies and daddies. He would ignore them and ignore me. He would go on and on about what a great dad he was going to be to them. In short, it was sickening. Hannah was the last, and she was quite different. Rather than having to snatch her up, she surprisingly went willingly. She was a bit older than most of the little girls he picked. She wore a school uniform. Her hair was long and dark, with blunt bangs. Crawling into the back seat, this strange little girl buckling herself in. She was extremely calm, and to the unknowing eye, it looked as if she belonged there. A little girl being picked up from school by her father and older brother. I looked back at her from the passenger seat, feeling extremely puzzled. She beamed a smile back that was so sweet, it was almost sickly. For some reason, my dad saw nothing wrong with this, and was overjoyed with his new catch. I watched her from the corner of my eye as he gave his normal routine speech. Most little girls cried. This little girl smiled and nodded knowingly. We got back home, and it wasn't long before things started as usual. He had her dress in one of those horribly tacky baby doll dresses and drink tea with him at a small table in her room. She played along, with a look in her eye that was far older than what she said her age was, which she said was 11. He corrected her, "No, Sugar Pea, you're 7. She nodded. As I sat in a chair on the far side of the room next to the door, she started to speak more fluently than an 11-year-old girl should be able to. "Let me ask you something. Why do you do this?" Her voice, though knowledgeable, was incredibly sweet. "What do you mean?" he replied, looking very confused. "I mean, why do you snatch up little girls as if you own them? Do you feel entitled to that? Did something messed up happen to you when you were a child, and now you're so skewed that you're obsessed with little girls?" She said all of this in a sing-song type of voice, but her eyes were cold and piercing. He was startled more than anything, but that didn't stop him from swinging. His fist landed on her cheek hard, and her head flew into the wall. She stood as if this didn't faze her at all. I was frozen entirely as he stood up, readying himself for the next strike he would almost surely give. She spoke again. "Ah, yes. Take your anger out on me because little girls beat you up all your life for being an awkward, disgusting loser." She almost cackled now, and that childlike glee was gone now. What replaced it was frightening. She knew exactly what she was talking about. My father was frozen entirely this time, so taken back by the reality of the words she said. She coolly and casually walked towards the bedroom door. However, instead of opening to leave, she just opened and looked me in the eye. "I'm giving you one chance to leave. I still see good in you. He hasn't broken you yet." She put out her hand, and I'll never know why I opted to grab it. I was horrified. and the thought that nobody in the world would love me nailed me down for the 8 or so years before. Still, something so powerful just pulsated from this little girl's body. I almost felt like it wasn't me doing it at all. I got out of the door before collapsing in the wood-floored hallway, where I sat motionless for hours, listening to my father's intense wails of pain. I don't know how long it took before the screams died altogether. It might have been 8 hours. It could have been only 1. I still don't know. I opened the door to find the room empty, besides a corpse so bloody and broken that it would have been unrecognizable had it not been for the broken, blood-stained glasses that sat nearby. His glasses. There was no sign of the girl. I still don't know how she got out of the room. The only exit was the one I came out of, and I never saw her leave. The police showed up only a half an hour later. Despite there being a little distance between our neighbors' houses and ours, his screams were loud enough to be heard all over town. In the police station, I felt raw. No one had talked to me other than to ask me what happened. Their voices felt extremely foreign. I was homeschooled, so the only person I ever really had contact with was my dad. One detective finally sat down and just talked to me, asked me the normal kind of things you'd ask a boy going on 14. I didn't have answers to most of the questions, though. Still, she was so sweet and warm, and after hours of normal talk, I finally opened up and told her everything. In all, they were able to close 24 cold cases all over the East Coast. I was able to point police in the direction of almost all the bodies that were never found. After that, I went to a special schooling program for kids like myself, went through several foster families, and I've grown up to be mostly normal. Still, I have no idea who that little girl was or what happened to her. I never even knew her real name. I do know one thing though, she's still out there. I don't know what she was or how she knew what she did, but as I look at my 2 daughters today, I silently thank her.